perfect execution and intro by the Shoot the Messenger podcast, episode 13.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
This is our second time starting the podcast because we had sound issues, but we're going to double check that, make sure that they're taken care of, because I do believe that we did it. Special guest on the show today, joining us, Mike Schaefer, who actually has his very own podcast, a lifelong friend of mine, and his is How to Sleep. The podcast, How to Sleep. So we'll get into a little bit about podcasting and what's going on with that. So Shafe's on the show today. How's it sound?
It sounds pretty good.
Sounds pretty good, she says. She says it's mother's seal of approval. Also, Kendra's bad movie review today. What do you got for us, Kendra?
We're looking at 1986's Critters.
Mm-hmm. Critters, the movie that kind of haunted my childhood. And the more we get into that, the more we'll talk about that. I don't need these headphones anymore. We'll be fine. And also this week in Reddit, something you could talk about for hours. Also, a guy jumps off Space Mountain, all that and more this hour. All right, Kendra, where are we at right now? Where are you at? It was a blustery week. We had like 5 school cancellations.
It was another nasty week for most people, but because I get to work from home, I got to hang out and wait for the mailmen to bring me presents this week, which
presents you paid for.
Presents I paid for, but one of them is this nice little light back here,
look at that.
Little coffee, hot beverage. And then also I got a pair of pants, exactly the same that I already owned, replacement pants.
I like it. The same pants that you own. You
Exactly.
like the object so much that you bought the same thing?
I went online, I looked for the brand and the specific type of pant,
That's
and
interesting.
lo and behold, it's
I don't know if
possible.
I've ever done that or not. I should, though, because sometimes you get that shirt that you like and you just wear it too much. That's a good idea, Kendra. I like it. Also, right now we were covering the high school rehearsals because I'm doing a show right now. And I got to say, working with 2 other directors is really awesome. There's a pianist. I just consider her a director. Without her reading music, it would be hard. And there's another director who's actually the lead director. I'm just an assistant. But Bill, they're really holding things together. He showed up with prop pieces and set pieces this week that we didn't have. And they just add so much to the show. And he's on it. He's, making things fall in line. I did some choreography with the kids. And I think a lot of people that are in the school systems in the Midwest this week have had these shutdowns and have had to play catch up.
Yeah.
Every school has like a spring concert. So, you've got to now ask for days ask for days on the weekend. I'm sure sports teams have to reschedule some of their conference matches too. So, kind of holding up everybody this week. But it's good. That's the latest details about the show.
Do you guys think that you guys are going to do any weekend rehearsals? It sounds like you might, to make up for the snow days, all the lost days.
A weekend? Yeah, we will. We got Saturday the 14th, I think. We're going to do one. Saturday the 14th is the day.
Do you know how many weeks you have left until performance day?
No, like 3 weeks, something like that. It's a good question.
It's coming up.
I'm going to bring in our guest right now because he's waiting patiently. So we're going to bring him in. They call him Shifty. They call him the Shafe. Mike Schaefer joining us. Oops, sorry about that. Mike Schaefer joining us. Hi, Mike. Welcome to the podcast. Yay.
Thanks, guys.
Our
Can I
very
clap
first
with
guest.
You? Is that good?
Yeah, you're actually our first guest on the show. Now, we did guest back on the old show when we had our morning crew, but you're our first one via the internet. Kendra, you're going to check the sound, make sure everything's sounding good.
I can do that.
So, Shafe, welcome to the show, bud.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. First guest. High honor.
Well, we've been friends for a long time. You have a podcast, which I love, and you've also had a podcast before. So you just recently started your second podcast, and let's talk about the first podcast. What was the first podcast called? Let's start there.
The first podcast was called Colin, Can You Hear Me?
Yeah.
Which makes no sense.
I don't
to
know.
anyone.
I don't understand. It sounds like just a deep inside joke right away.
Yeah. No,
Dear
and
God,
it
it's
is.
me,
That's all
Margaret.
it is.
Okay. So why, Colin, can you hear me?
So in Michigan, in the Midwest, there's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament called Gus Macker.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are familiar. You guys know Gus
yeah.
Macker.
Yeah.
Listeners outside the Midwest may not.
Probably
One
not.
of our longtime friends, Ben Webster, he played with a gentleman named Colin, who was he was like 6'9" and a scatterbrained dude who he always disappeared, and you never know if he'd show up to game time. He was an interesting guy. And I don't know why, but Colin, can you hear me? That's what we came up with.
Really? Colin, okay. And now, and that was kind of like a fly-by-night, you guys getting together, kind of just talking, podcast idea. Like you thought you wanted to put something out there creatively, right?
Want to put something out there creatively. I have a creative writing background. I used to teach creative writing. I really just wanted to talk to my buddies on the phone, and I was like, why not record it? And And if you've ever heard Ben talk, he's a wild cannon. Warren's funny, and I just sort of hosted. I'm not much of a host, but yeah, and that was the only reason. Just let's talk to my buddies.
It's a great excuse to hang out, and a lot of people have those friends that are like, really good talkers. And I find the dynamic between just buddies hanging out and doing a podcast, like there is a little bit of a skill gap there. And now you're onto your new show, like How to Sleep, which you're taking a little bit more seriously than the last one, I think. First off, I like the sounds of it. I like the quiet microphone. How to Sleep. Why don't you describe for the listeners what How to Sleep is about and where it came from?
How to Sleep is the intent is, well, there's two intents. One, to help people sleep, and two, if you're into instruction manuals, to get every instruction manual you've ever heard. So
there are people that are into instruction manuals.
There's people who are into everything, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you're right. There's enough people. Sure.
Well, I'm also just trying to not have my audience be people who are trying to sleep. So I'm convincing myself that there are people who like instruction manuals.
Are you careful with how loud you talk and making sure there's no like loud noises that would awake someone during your
That's
podcast?
a great question. I mean, you and I were talking about, how to set our microphone settings up. I really don't want any outside noises. I do a lot of editing, post recording to the best of my ability. Mm-hmm. And I've played around with having more energy and then also talking almost like my dad talks. My dad, like really slow.
Really? Yes.
And I don't know. I'd have to
see. I listened to episode 1, and then I listened to a little bit of your latest episode to see what the latest is. And there's a bit more energy under the voice, a little bit more excitement. I mean, I think you're really kind of funny. Can we play a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's play a little bit. This is from Mike Schaefer's How to Sleep, the podcast. It's how many episodes you got here?
I hit 20 this
20,
week.
Hitting 20. Now what Mike is doing is reading manuals, starting with from anything like the American Standard toilet you started with, and then or the Ridgeway grandfather clock was a good one too.
That one's a doozy, guys. That one's pretty in depth.
All right, let's get a little bit of this right here. This is my enameled letters. How enameled letters are made.
It's the How to Sleep podcast.
Can we hear this?
I am your host, Mike Schaefer, and I hope you're having a great start.
Let me bring it up a little bit.
Friday, weekend's right around the corner, and what a way to kick it off with. Well, I will say, I know I said when I was recording the Pet Rock episode that was by far the best episode I had recorded, and I stand by that until now. Because what I've discovered is going to knock your socks off again if you put them back on after having them knocked off from the rock manual. It's going to do it again. And here's why. I have discovered through the power of Project Gutenberg, online
It's great.
ebook database with 58,000 books, all free.
I know about that through NPR. The Gutenberg Project.
Oh, it's great.
Stories, books, articles. I've discovered the Scientific American Supplement.
Can you share what it is?
The Gutenberg Project was, Gutenberg is the guy who invented movable type back in 1400s, 1600s, forget when that was.
Right.
Just an ebook, free online ebook database with tons and tons of different books and journal articles and just free access to information.
Do you have a sponsor already?
No.
Oh, you need to get paid for that. The Gutenberg
It's all free
Project.
though. Gutenberg is all free, so
Is
I mean,
it?
you can
Well,
donate.
then somebody's making money. You need to be making money off that. But you've always been a big reader.
Yes.
And applying that, the slow, methodical. I mean, you're kind of quiet as it is, but you take on this different persona when you get into your reading. How do you get in the mood for your reading, or do you just turn it on and
What's funny is you guys are much more familiar with the business than me with radio. I'll sit in front of my mic and I'll start doing the opener and I'll stop and I'll delete and I'll do it like 3 or 4 times until I'm nervous almost, but it's just me in a room by myself. If you've ever felt that way, and then you start talking because you want the tone of your voice to feel right. So it's like doing takes, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I get prepared and I sit down and get going.
Do you ever have like moments where you like have a hard time reading the words, like you get to a word and it stops you up, or you weren't familiar with it?
Yeah, you're
or,
pretty good reading.
like,
I mean, these things.
if this is instructional manuals.
Yes. So if you'll see, so the Ridgeway grandfather clock is a two-parter. So that's 2 straight hours of manuals.
It's an hour a piece of reading an instruction manual for the Ridgeway grandfather clock.
How to like fix the inner workings of a grandfather clock. So
bring
what
this in
that is you're looking at figures and you're trying to describe what you see. And I'm not very good at that, quite frankly. I'm okay at it, but some people are
Right.
better at describing what they see. If you hear me reading that latest episode, it's pretty narrative and it's just like reading from a book. So it's a little
nice,
bit different, which I prefer, but I also want to challenge myself. So I try and go back and forth.
So you took the Ridgeway. You saw the instruction book. How big was it for the Ridgeway grandfather clock?
It was online. It was digital. It was, I forget how many pages, like 14 or 15, like very dense pages.
But it took 2 hours to read, so obviously they're dense.
Oh, it was, I was fully exhausted when I got
Can I
done
play a
reading
clip?
it.
Can I play a
Sure.
clip?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna play a clip of the Ridgeway grandfather clock. We're gonna pick it up
Yeah,
about
just speed
halfway
through.
through.
You have our
Yeah.
next
Kind of get in there a little bit.
selection, and this is an all
Put on my
bold,
listening
all
device.
caps chime selection. Selecting the chime melody is accomplished by a selection lever on the clock dial. Some models play only the Westminster chime, while others give you a selection of 3 melodies. Some models also have an automatic chime sequencing feature. This feature allows the movement to automatically change the chime selection every hour. Selection of the chime sequencing feature, or one of the 3 chime melodies, is done with the selector lever. I wonder if I knew about the ability
Now, do you add your own commentary when this is going?
for our
I did early on, and I was also describing like the type of font that I was reading, whether
Right.
it was like caps or all bold, and that got pretty repetitive. So I did a little bit, or I'd laugh a little bit to myself. More and more, I'm wondering. I had an old colleague of mine who she's like, I fell asleep, and then I woke up when you said you addressed the audience. So I wondered how much that would be unsettling to people who are trying to sleep.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you really got to keep it kind of at an even keel the whole time, man. I got to tell you what, it's pretty soothing what you got set up there. The How to Sleep podcast. Just the idea of loan is pretty ingenious. I thought reading in old, new instruction manuals.
Well, I like how open it is for everybody too. Like this is you don't have to see these manuals to read them, understand them. You could just listen to the sounds of Mike Schaefer.
Yeah, it's true. Pretty good sounds there, Mike. And also then you got some distribution. So you got your podcast set up and put on iTunes, right?
Right.
Couple YouTube videos to watch that. With us, like the distribution is kind of the craziest part. Like trying to like figure out how to get out there in the world of podcasts. You know, I had a website. I don't know if I'll hit on it too much, but some lady put up 101 different ways to promote your website. And aside from like bugging your friends or you know, constantly and being like, hey, check out, and I got 5 viewers. What other ways do you think are good for promotion, or do you think word of mouth is the way?
It's so hard. I think word of mouth, any of the social media, I've actually found, because Facebook is just people I know, and how many times do I want to bug people about my latest episode?
Right.
So I did that a couple times and cut that. Instagram is where I found the majority of people liking my posts, and I've attached a new picture to every episode, not just my logo, and I do different hashtags and try and just expose it to different people.
It's like this is the side of like creating that I hate the most, is like, you know, like trying to advertise for yourself as well.
Yeah.
And put yourself out there. It's like I want to do shows and perform and try to do good content. I don't have to worry about the 6 hours after the show that I have to spend to try to get all the content out there. So I guess, you know, you got to start somewhere, and you know, builds character, I guess. So there it is. But it's like, you know, some of these things you just don't want to do. How do you feel about it, Kendra?
Well, I mean, like
You're pretty good at paperwork.
Yeah, but it's different than paperwork. I mean, because in that you get tired of doing things, especially if you're sitting at a computer for a long time, you don't want to have to type out the same thing. And sometimes when you're writing show notes or, trying to promote yourself, you feel like you're just repeating yourself, especially if you're putting it on like different platforms.
Sure.
So it's unique to the platform, but you've already typed that out 3 or 4 times. And so
Right.
it just doesn't feel as authentic as just like, hey dude, listen to my stuff, isn't it great?
I guess, but I always feel like those guys selling CDs on Venice Beach and be like, listen to come out and check it out. Don't you like it? I want them to just like it and to tell people they like it so much that they tell people and it grows organically. You don't want to force feed people stuff, but so I guess like all the websites say to do that, and it's just like, man, I don't like doing that.
Well, I think there's a fine line between force feeding and like letting people know what they're not aware of, right? They can't like something that they don't know exists.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree with that. You got to give them the opportunity,
All right, Shafe, I'm bringing this in on you. Let's go to the topic. You want to stick around for a few topics today, eh?
Sure thing, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Definitely.
Stick around. Check this out, dude. What I have is an air tree freshener, and it has instructions. Now, you ever used a car air tree freshener? You ever used one in your life?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure they're pretty 90s, but I grew up in the 90s. I didn't realize that there were instructions for these things and that you just don't take them out and hang them. Did you know that?
I did. You want to know how I knew that?
How did you know that? You read?
The car freshener aisle in my parents' store was one of the most interesting aisles when I was little.
Why was it so interesting?
Because it had all these colors and pictures, and it had like Snoopy, and it had like these characters because it was the 90s, and so everybody had an air freshener, and so there was a whole big wall of these giant cartoon characters, and I didn't understand why they smelled. I didn't understand what they were, but I looked at the
they
back.
were different cartoon characters growing
Yeah.
up. Well, that'd be kind of nice. Well, okay, so here's the deal with it. They last up to 7 weeks. I kept mine in there for years, but evidently only 7 weeks.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to peel it and gradually lower it off. Did you know this, Mike?
No.
I don't think anybody knew this. And plus, it looks a lot more shitty with it hanging there with the plastic rack hanging off it, right?
That's the one thing I couldn't get over is like the instructions. You're basically covering up your own product, guys.
Yeah.
Like you want your product to look worse.
And did you ever have anything in your adult life other than this that you kind of been using wrong the whole time? That's the topic. Now I can bring up one of like the can opener thing is a good experience where the guys, you've been putting it on vertically your whole life. You've been putting the can opener on the can vertically, but if it lays flat, you can cut around it and kind of create a lid. Some people have been putting it on the wrong way. So that's kind of one of the things I was thinking about. Anybody, you guys probably do everything perfect and don't have those.
No, I have a great example, guys.
Okay, I love it. What do you got?
I shared this. My wife was mortified. I shared it with some like acquaintances, not great friends. So she's like, "Why are you telling them this dumb thing?" Deodorant. So if you have a deodorant, you know how it always says some of them have that little plastic cap on the
Yes.
top. And
Yes.
I've always just like had a pain trying to pull it off.
Yes.
Where all you got to do is just twist the bottom and
Yes.
it raises it. But for about
Yep, exactly.
5 years of my life,
I read online somebody was grabbing a wrench to try to like pliers to pull the thing off because they couldn't do it. But you got to simply turn the handle, and that
very-
makes sense.
yeah.
I found that when the windshield's ice up, if I just hold on the liquid and keep squirting the windshield, I don't have to get out of my car. It'll eventually break through.
Until you run out of windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah, no, you got to top. See, that's why oil changes these days are nice because they top up everything. Back in the day, you ain't get everything topped off. Are you kidding me? Your washing fluid too?
You sure?
That's-
Yeah,
that's
you're
extra.
right. They didn't do that because the person who was pumping your gasoline for you did that.
All right, Kendra, what do you got for us? What thing were you using wrong? Do you have anything? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I would say that I folded socks wrong, but how do you fold? I mean, you fold socks right by rolling them up.
Yeah. Oh, how did you fold socks wrong?
By stretching them out and like inverting them.
Yeah.
That is the incorrect way to do that.
Oh.
What you're supposed to do is you're actually supposed to roll them up from the foot. It does not stretch up the elastic of the upper part of your sock.
Oh.
And it also conserves space in the drawer. So you can put way more socks in your drawer if you roll your socks. That's
I
a
like it.
military trick,
That's pretty
actually.
good. I mean, it was pretty good shape. Yeah, somebody taught me to, like when I'm folding my shirts, to hit them on my knee and flatten them. And I could fit like, boom, boom, you get a couple folds in there and you just slap them on your knee. And it like flattens out the clothes a lot more. They get tight. Because my folds were like fluffy. fluffy folds. And anyway, okay, so let's move on. Kendra, it's time for your bad movie review.
1986
We need a
is
sounder. I need to push. We got to get our gato. This is why the stream is great, because we're here and we're going to keep improving every show. But pretty soon I'll be able to hit a button and some graphics will come up and the sound comes up. Bad movie review or something like that. I was thinking about putting Michael Jackson in there. You know, it's bad. And then having a bunch of clips from people, different movies saying bad, 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 bad. But then you got to find clips of people saying bad from different movies. That's hours of work, people. That is so much time.
It is.
I don't have those many movies. And then I got to think in my head, what movies did people say bad? And then find that clip. I don't know, man. There should be a database where you can write something in, and any movie or any song with whatever you wrote in just starts coming up. So any kind of conglomerate mismatch that you want to make, because you see enough of those, but they take a long, long time. Bad movie review. Much I digress.
You just need to take what you just said, AJ, that whole thing, and just loop it every time beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Loop
That's
it
the
before.
intro.
That's the intro right there.
There it
So
is.
put it to a beat. We'll call it good. Kendra, what did you review this week? I'm so excited. And Mike, you watched this movie too?
Oh, yeah, just watched it.
I watched this movie.
Everybody watched the movie.
Everybody watched the movies.
This was the classic 1986 thriller horror comedy film Critters.
Critters. It sounds so cute.
Critters.
What did you know about Critters before you started?
I knew that there was some confusion with Gremlins. That I wasn't always sure like which movie people were talking about when it came to Critters versus Gremlins. I also knew that Critters has like a lot of name recognition. When people talk about horror movies from the 80s that have that are usually like a little bit bad or a little bit weird, Critters typically gets brought up. And I would say that this movie surprised me in several ways.
Why is there gameplay down there? Anyway, go ahead.
Let's start with the fact that this was directed by the same guy that directed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
What?
Yeah, came out in 1989. So this was before he directed that film. Now we had the mom from E.T. was in this movie. Her name was Dee Wallace.
She must have been making bank. She was like the mom then. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We also had notable actors that are currently famous. Billy Zane, he was in The Mummy. He got famous for The Mummy, right?
Billy Zane.
And then
He's a
Scott
cool dude.
Grimes.
Where'd he go?
He's still on stuff.
Okay.
But Scott Grimes, he's currently on The Orville. He's related. He has connections to Seth MacFarlane. So
Is that
that's
any good? That's like the Star Trek one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I hear a lot of people like kind of like that. It kind of like walks in path with Star Trek a little bit.
I'd like to watch it to compare,
Okay.
contrast.
All right.
So also notable is the creature effects were created by the Chinodo brothers. They're the same guys that made Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Which we reviewed in probably like episode 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. The Killer Clowns. What a great movie. So, okay. Let's get into it.
Synopsis.
Okay.
So it basically starts out on
Oh,
this.
I should be playing a clip, shouldn't I?
You probably should.
You talk. I'll
All
clip
right.
it.
So we start out on this like prison asteroid thing, and you find out that these Kreeites have escaped the prison asteroid, and these bounty hunters, these other alien bounty hunters, are sent to Earth to capture the Kreeites. And you learn early on that these things have like a heavy appetite because they say like we originally had 10, but we had to kill 2 because they were eating everything.
The Kreeites.
Exactly, the Kreeites.
Okay, all right. Oh, New Line Cinema. They were doing everything in the 80s. They even did the Ninja Turtle movie.
So
Shafe, you know.
I know.
this when we join them on Earth, when the Kreeites get to Earth and the bounty hunters get there, the Kreeites start by eating a cow and then a cop and go off on their way. The bounty hunters, of course, because this is an 80s film, they're going to go in the wrong direction. And we join this family of like farmers, and so it's up to this family of farmers to like deal with these Kreeites or little critters. And then what ends up happening basically is that the lights go out, and the dad goes down to find out why did the lights go out, and then the critters start attacking him, and then everything goes downhill from there. At that point, the family is aware that these critters are in the house, and the critters know about electricity. They understand how phone lines work, so they're like cutting out communications.
Oh, whoa.
So
Okay. Yeah,
So
they
it's-
got big teeth.
it's another one of those situations where it's up to the sun to save the day.
Yeah, basically.
So
Where the he has like a slingshot. He works a shotgun in the movie. Like as a kid watching this, you look up to this kid and be like, man, this kid's saving the day.
basically, yeah, definitely. The kid gets a lot of action time, and the dad kind of has to like let the son go. So it had some like cliche like father moments, but
God, look at this. I'm sorry. Look at this guy's gun though, man, and the hair, Kendra. Look at this. Does this not scream 80s? What's the story with these guys?
Gosh, that's actually one of the things that I enjoyed the most was the Johnny Steele music break. So the guy you were referencing with the hair.
Where the hell did he go? Go ahead.
During
There
this
he is.
movie, he has like
He's elusive.
It's like a famous musician or whatever, and these aliens come down and they take the famous musician's like shape and face and everything like that. So it's
Right.
like
We'll go back a little bit.
Johnny Steele, this incredibly like 80s hairband dude who's actually like the alien bounty hunter. And then the other
There he
alien
is.
bounty hunter.
I thought he was
keeps-
Yahoo Serious from like Young Einstein or whatever like that.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's totally 80s.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like this character.
Yeah,
it was good.
This guy's name was the actor's name is Terrence Mann. He actually appeared in all 4 of the Critter films. Along,
Did he really?
Yes, yeah, he did. Along with
Oh, that's nice. That's good to hear. Like, I get really giddy about that. Like, hey, you were in all 4. He made the full run. This is the first one.
Yeah.
This was his life.
So, besides the Johnny Steele music break, which was quintessential 80s and mildly enjoyable because it's not an 80s film without a music break, I also enjoyed the fact that the graphics were way better than I expected, especially like the space scenes with the aliens.
Like the CGI and stuff?
Yeah, like the beginning scenes when they're like leaving the planet asteroid or the prison asteroid and everything. I was surprised at the quality of the 1986 aliens. I also enjoyed the Creates speaking to each other, so they had their own language. Even though they looked like they wouldn't have a language, they did speak to each other, and we got to see the translation, which was always funny.
Right.
And then my favorite character was Charlie McFadden, the crazy guy whose feelings made him hear the radio signals of the aliens. Basically, he knew that the aliens were coming because his feelings were telling him.
Oh, really?
So I
Wait, the
enjoyed that.
alcoholic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked that character. After thinking about the character a little bit longer, and now that I know that that guy also helped write the film, it really adds a level to that character that I enjoy. The negatives of the film, I would say that there was some missed opportunities for humor. It kind of took itself too seriously as a horror film, and it could have made fun of itself a little bit more. And then the other thing that I didn't really like were the puppets, unfortunately.
Why didn't you like the puppets? What's wrong with that?
Well, it was one scene in particular where the the little things are
Where'd you
like
go, Shafe?
eating the they're eating the bed, they're ripping it apart, and it literally looks like 2 little hands going like this as puppets. And so I was not always impressed with all of the creature effects.
Really? Did we lose Shafe? We might. Okay, keep going. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
all right.
I'm gonna call him back up here.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've been trying to actually, as a comparable film, many would say Gremlins. There's a reason why these 2 films are confused, but the main writer actually said that this script, Critters, was actually written first, and it was based off of a childhood nightmare.
1 second. We're calling Schaefer here. Get him back on the line. Oh, there he is. Okay, cool. We got you back. Did we lose you?
Yeah.
Okay, you're back. So.
Theme, I've been trying to come up with a theme, basically saying like, what would we say that this movie's about? Things are not what they appear, is what I guess I would fall for Critters.
Now, Shafe, you watched this movie, right?
I did.
What'd you think? You watched the movie. We used to do a movie review in high school, by the way, at the school newspaper. But so you watched a lot of movies. You love the 80s.
Correct. This movie, I realized I had not seen this. I had only seen the sequel. I had an absolute blast. I just watched this, and it's a shorter movie. It's the 80s. It seemed like Stranger Things just stole a bunch of stuff from it, like they did in a good way. I loved it. The Creates or Krites, what are they? Were fun, and I just had an absolute blast. The kid was awesome. Start to finish.
The kid was awesome. I liked the kid, yes.
What did you think about the puppets? What were your opinions about those?
When they were on screen for like that quick flash and you'd see their teeth and they'd try and scare you. I don't think it's really that scary. It's more campy and fun. I liked when they're on screen quickly and then gone. It's when you get too, like any bad effects, I think it's when you get too much exposure that you can see that they're puppets.
Yeah, yeah. Typical monster movie fashion where you see the critters kind of rolling across the ground. You don't really get to see a good look at them for a good portion of the movie. But then when you do, it's kind of like some of them they're just moving back and forth. Like there's a hand there, and it's like moving the critter. Like
So
Like, it's
obviously,
so obviously that there's a person there just jerking their wrist around. But you know,
and there was the one large critter, right? So most throughout the other movies, they don't grow in size, but in the original Critter, there was the one that like got to be that full size, but we never saw it in its full
wait a
size.
minute. You're telling me in the critters lore, they don't grow, and B, you know critters lore.
Well, I am saying that the critters never get larger in any other movie than the first one.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
because they do get big. It's definitely worth a watch. This was my like as a kid I watched it, but as you get older, it just becomes like some mithril of a dream. You know, like
It becomes more scary than you remember.
Well, it's just,
or-
I hardly remembered it, and remembered why I kind of like there is a draw to it, why I was drawn to it as a kid, but yet it still scared me. Right?
This has all the premise of a bad film with all of the special effects of a high budget film, in my opinion.
And then it has that classic critters ending. All right, well, we'll see if we agree with you, Kendra. It's now time to rate your movie based on Starship Troopers. A 1 to 5 Starship Troopers. We haven't uncovered all Starship Troopers. Will today be the day? Will critters have it in them to reach a 5 Starship Trooper rating? Kendra, do we have one Starship Trooper?
We have one Starship Trooper.
We have one Starship Trooper showing up. There he is. What's his name?
That is, I'm pulling them up right now.
Okay, good. You had it. All right, Kendra, we will get his name in a second, but the question must be asked.
Johnny Rico. That was Johnny Rico.
We have one Johnny Rico. Do we have 2 Starship Troopers, Kendra?
We have 2 Starship Troopers.
All right, good. It seemed like you liked the movie quite a bit. Pretty confident on these here. 3.
So we have a Johnny Rico, a Carmen Ibanez.
Carmen Ibanez has joined the list. Now, Kendra, for 3 Starship Troopers.
3 Starship Troopers.
Oh, we have the redheaded girl that was pretty hot when I was growing up. What's her name? She's the rough and tumble one.
That was Dizzy Flores.
Dizzy Flores. She's got the name. Carmen Ibanez, Dizzy Flores, Jeez, oh, peace, and Johnny Rico. Kendra, the question must be asked. The question must be asked. Do we have a 4th Starship Trooper?
No, I'm afraid we do not. It's 3.
No,
3 Starship
you're
Troopers out of 5.
3 Starship Troopers out of 5.
You're so close.
Whoa, I thought you liked it more than that.
I mean,
God.
it's very tempting, but it just it missed something. Like maybe it was the family, maybe it was the farmer family and how like stereotypically boring all the main characters were, or I don't know. I mean, it had good effects
It
and
didn't make you laugh as much as you'd like, or what?
it didn't. It was not as
Some of the puppet effects do take out the immersion. You
Yeah.
know? It does a little bit, but it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, 3's pretty strong.
I think that 3 is a strong score.
You're only scaling out of 5. It's not like you're scaling out of 10.
No.
I mean, it's not like you gave it a 6. You'd probably give it a 7 out of 10 if we scaled that way.
It would be up there.
What
yeah.
would you rate it, Mike?
I'd go a little bit higher, but at first, now that I'm realizing it's Starship Troopers, which came on the other day, and I was really excited. If you text your friends about a movie that comes on, you're excited.
So that's why it's the gold standard for us.
So
It's a
I
5
would,
out
if
of
this
5,
came on like Sci-Fi, I would instantly text a lot of people and probably take a picture of my TV. So I'd give it 4.
It's pretty good.
Wow.
It's pretty good. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to uncover those old sci-fi movies. So if you have a suggestion, please leave it with Kendra. Most of these have come out of suggestions, right?
They have
Something
They have.
other people have brought to you. I think we're just about ready because we cover it every single week. And it's now our little dose of Elon Musk, the man, the myth, the legend, the boy, the lion.
The plane, the bird.
So Elon, I can't believe it. He makes news every single week. He manages to create headlines, vastly varying different headlines. Tesla's going down, spaceships are going up, and we're digging tunnels, things like that. So every single week, now I'm not going to play the theme music this week because I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Still working on the beat bed. But the first topic here that we have for Elon is his, he's actually slammed by the Washington Post, was it?
It was Washington Post.
It was the Washington Post slamming Elon Musk. Let me close a little bit of this. For what?
for his travel itinerary.
Yes, travel itinerary. That's right. Okay, I'm going to bring up his little travel itinerary next to Shafe here. And so here it is in all its glory, or in half of its glory. Can we see it, Shafe? Sorry, 1 second. Boom. Okay. And we see it warming up. And this is his flights throughout the year. Okay. These are all his bing, bing, bing. And this is done with sound effects too. I can turn it up a little bit. And he takes more flights in a year than I've seen than many people take in their lifetime, or 10 lifetimes. So it gets pretty crazy. So this is only in January, March, April, May, and he's done so much. A lot of this triangle stuff going up, a lot of Nevada.
Well, and what strikes me is like that looks like the route that he wants to put that tunnel in, right?
Sure.
The one that he's flying a lot in, that triangle.
So the Washington Post really came down. I mean, they put pinball effects to it, and I thought that was a Jeff Bezos slam, but evidently he owns the New York Post. Not the
No,
Washington.
he owns Washington Post.
Oh,
You had New York Post written down, but it was Washington Post. So Bezos definitely.
So this is a billionaire slam. This is Jeff Bezos attacking Elon Musk. Jeff Bezos is going through divorce, so that's a lot of travel.
It is interesting, and there's
There's anything wrong with it, but Jeff Bezos has got a lot of negative headlines, negative press headed his way right now.
There is, and he also had an article on the Washington Post about his travel, but it wasn't spun quite so negatively about like how much he's spending and who's paying for these flights, and how's this all actually taking place here. Let's look at your business finances and see that you're actually you're almost bankrupt, or you're not making enough money, which is what the Washington Post is kind of doing to Elon Musk here. But they did not do that for Bezos.
No, Shafe, you travel a lot.
I do.
I would not envy that travel schedule. I don't think he does it because he likes it.
No, I can't imagine he does. That's why Kendra makes a good point. He wants to tunnel so he can just ride in one of his self-driving cars. I think at first it's romantic. You love the idea, at least it was for me, and then it becomes a job. It's just a function to get to where you have to do work.
Yeah, and it loses the romance because it's like if you've ever been to a cool place like the Cheesecake Factory to eat, and it's wonderful, it's magical, but then you work there and it fucking ruins it. And then I still love cheesecake, but it's like, man, that place was magical before I worked there. I guess Disney manages to maintain that too, but flying not. Also with Elon Musk this week, he's hinting at a record-breaking launch target. How about that? Record-breaking launches this year. 21 successful missions last year. They're going to go 24 to 28 this year. So there you go. That's a lot more missions this year on his itinerary. So he's going to be flying a lot more into space. Of course, he's got new goals of landing on the moon. And also, with that, he's putting up his home for sale. 4.5. Only for. I hear his house. $4.5 million in Westwood. But I hear that number and I'm like, it's not that much. I thought it would be more.
Any house that's like million, it wasn't until I heard how much he was worth that I was like, okay, yeah, I guess you could afford a house that costs
21
that much.
billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 4.5 million located in the Hollywood Hills. Let me see if I can bring up a couple more photos of it. Pretty good.
It's beautiful. It's boomerang shaped, and the hallway is like all windows. This curved hallway. It has a bunch of smart tech in it, and it also apparently has a saltwater pool, which I did not know was a thing until just now.
So that's it. Getting slammed by the Washington Post while you're setting to do record-breaking launches, and then also putting your house up for sale. I mean, what a week! That's Elon Musk this week. So there we go. That's our latest in Elon Musketry.
A Musk moment.
I had this topic that I was looking at, and I thought it was just a really good palate cleanser for us here. 1 second, I have it. Okay, you know that boiling water challenge that we covered last week, Kendra?
Where people are trying to steam the air with their hot water because it's so cold.
Shafe, you saw people doing this, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yep.
Did you see the people getting burned?
No.
Okay, so we covered last week how people were throwing boiling water on themselves because they would go outside with it and it'd be, 0 or -10 and throw it up in the air. But you got to have some velocity when you throw it. A lot of people just filming the steam and not filming the half gallon that still lands on the water or lands on the ground. But we covered last week people were burning themselves, and we had a few footages there. Go ahead and check the VODs if you're just listening in. But 6 days later, after we reported it, CNN decides to cover it. So just saying, I scooped CNN. They're covering things 6 days later. So on February 8th, it was updated, but February 8th, that was what, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday. So we covered this last week, people.
That's a little bit too like when people are trying to drink alcohol, put their mouth and blow fire out of their mouths when they do it wrong and they like light their face on fire.
Yes. Oh, I've seen
So
it.
stupid.
Yes.
Yes, that is stupid. See, this person does it right. You know, they kind of throw. Do you see this video here? They kind of throw it up and watch it land. There you go.
Well,
I
they
wouldn't
throw
waste
it away from themselves, like that was smart. Like
I guess so.
you saw some people where they would just throw it up in the air and then they just like watch it fall, like hot water fall on their face.
That's right. It's bad. Shafe, we're drinking tea here. Drink of the day. Tea. We're going with everyday balanced rested calm tea. Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah.
Get out of here. Are you drinking coffee or tea?
This is a Scottish breakfast tea.
A Scottish
Scottish.
breakfast tea. Do you take cream, milk?
Just a little bit of sugar.
See, we're discovering the world of tea because we love coffee. We're coffee. We had our own coffee deliverer to our show before, bring us fresh bags.
Nice.
And now it's too much caffeine late in the day. We still want to keep drinking warm beverage, but we gotta switch to tea.
Warm beverage.
Warm beverage. See, there she is. It's not just coffee; it's a warm beverage sign.
It is.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next topic. This week in Reddit, Reddit asks, and you respond. We respond. What is something you could talk about for hours? Something that you could talk about for hours. As a podcast host, you often think this, or I see it on other podcasts. People just shooting the shit, right? Something that you could talk about. And I thought this was pretty interesting. We'll start with the top answer right here. Sharing music with other people. I like finding new music that way. Now, when I think about this list, I start to be like, no, I realize I hate talking about a lot of things because you've talked about them a lot, and to reset and go back with somebody new and rehash everything is kind of like, you've already been through the topics about Pink Floyd. You've already talked about, to death, the Beatles. You've already talked to death the Rolling Stones and music, and then you switch over to the rap and KRS-One back in the day, and different genres. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's because you're talking about the wrong things. You're talking about reality, right? You're limited by your reality-based topics. Versus, I am happy to go on and on about the details of a zombie contingency plan and what if zombies were real.
Okay, all right, stay on topic. We're talking about music.
Well,
music is pretty vast and never-ending, don't you think?
But it's still limited because how much can you say about music? I mean, I guess whole people have spent their entire careers talking about music as well. But, it's like, it's good. Listen to it. You have a shared experience.
It's an influencer. There's this person, like, it gets into, like, who do you listen to? And then, like, battles to be more eclectic or battles to be more, and it's like, man, music is just, it's a mood setter. Put it on if it makes you feel good. What do you think, Shafe?
My dad introduced me to music when I was young. I could talk about music for hours. I think
Nice.
Fun ways. I think when you meet new people, icebreakers, like who are your the top 5 bands or the bands who influenced you the most, and explaining why behind it, or going into their albums and breaking it down. Like, you could find different ways as long as you compartmentalize it, I think, because otherwise it could get boring if you say the same thing over and over.
Well, it's true. Some people like to read the back catalogs and know the producers and who played drums on this album, and that's pretty fascinating and stuff.
Well, maybe I'm just not as dedicated to music as the two of you are. I've never, been as interested or into it.
When kids are into, I think when you do it with classic rock and real, like what they call music and people playing instruments, I think it's great. Nowadays, when people get so into the pop artists of today, and not like, I love pop artists growing up and stuff like that, but even now, so like, it's just like, finding out this rap guy's producer or this ghost writer. It really, like, I'm just getting old. I'm like, I don't really want to get into it for hours, but these are different things. Anything related with outer space is also an answer. What is something you could talk about for hours? anything with outer space. I think this one probably. I could talk about outer space for a while.
Yeah, outer space is a good one because there's always, the Fermi paradox to talk about, and
Come again?
the belief that aliens must be out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Why are we alone?
Yeah, I guess so. It's the big unknowns, and spinning the yarn on big unknowns to me is kind of a waste of time, right? You can talk about them for hours, but I think like you're just kind of sitting there coming up with ideas, like.
Ideas change the world, friend.
Yeah, but I let other people come up with ideas unless I got the good one. Unless I have it for a reason and it's making me money. It's like, man, you could stay up for years, if not a lifetime, wondering instead of coming up with it.
Yeah.
But it does make for good conversation. What do you think about that? Anything related with outer space, Shafe?
I think it feels like now I've stood under many a star sky in northern Michigan and
That's
just
right.
and just talked with friends, so we know what that's about. It's a prompt. It's very philosophical to compare yourself to so much space when we feel so small, you know, that type of thing. So it can lead to any number of conversations. That's why you can talk for hours, and it's probably different for everyone.
I like that. It's a prompt. It is. It's kind of the that's why it's so good, because it is space, and what do you fill it with? You fill space with conversation. Let's move on. Other answers. Did you have any answers you wanted to go with, Kendra?
I was just actually daydreaming about the fact that I could talk for hours about like the
Arts and crafts. Come on now, you got a whole closet full of them. No,
Well, I mean, I do have a whole closet full of
she
them.
watches too many YouTubers and she sees the crafting and like not too many, the right amount.
A few amount.
Yeah, but the YouTubers and the Instagrams really give you the crafting bug.
But no, like I'm one of the people that have gotten lost in like ghost story conversations with people.
Ooh,
I love like sharing all right, what's your paranormal experience, and like hearing somebody else's paranormal experience for the first time always feels so magical and real, like it actually happened, and you don't know if they're just telling you a story or
listening
not.
to somebody else's paranormal. Gosh, I'm so bitter. I'm just like you.
I'm like,
you
I don't even care if you're lying. Tell me a story.
Shit.
Just tell me your story. I want to
Did you do a
hear
temperature
it.
test in the room? You're imagining.
Did you have a camcorder? A tape?
I'm like, I don't
tape
want to hear
recorder?
your fucking tall tales.
I
Like,
do.
don't care.
I do.
It's a waste of my time.
It's not a waste of my
Did
time.
you have a picture? Did you do a? I don't know, man. So you want to talk about ghost stories?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on my life. When I think about the like hours staying up talking to friends in the middle of the night, I feel like there's always like a scattering of ghost stories in those nights. Like just one or two story, you get into the topic, you weave out of it.
What do you think? What do you think, Shafe? Ghost stories?
You know, it's fascinating. I don't know if I believe. The older I get, maybe I do. I have never experienced it. I have a hard time sitting there because if I don't believe, but I know the person telling it really does believe. I've lived with people who have, so I want to humor them. You know, it's not fair. They humor me when I go on tangents.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like you know, a ghost took your sandwich, or you know, chances are you know, I don't know.
Maybe.
They're interesting. Okay, there's a reason why there's a whole like channel with ghost stories.
Yeah, it's always interesting.
It's called sci-fi. Somebody listed Dark Souls. They could talk about that for
A
hours.
video game? How's a video game better than my ghost story suggestion?
Well, it's the hardest video game ever invented, I guess. It is the standard. It is the Michael Jordan of standard. People say if a game is really hard, they base it on Dark Souls. Like, oh, it's the Dark Souls of this genre. It's the Dark Souls of first-person shooter. So people could talk about Dark Souls, but it's not that. It's not that impressive. They just said that for the meme. One savvy response said, "What do you want to talk about for hours?" And the guy says, "Whatever you want to talk about. Smile." And that's really it, man. You know, like it's just being in the moment. I don't like talking about you know, like religion and stuff like that too much with people unless I'm really ready to like put in a study. You know, you can get a lot of BS back and forth from people talking, and I encourage everybody to go on their own search for religion. And what you believe, but a haphazard comment while you're drinking beers and stuff, I'm like, I don't want to get serious like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to talk about my infinite mortality right now because I want to crack some beers and have some fun. You know, and that to me, that's not fun. That's not something I can spin on for hours, nor do I want to.
Well, and that's so like I feel like I know so many people that is like their like main character
I
trait.
know. It annoys the hell out of me.
Is
Not you.
like,
I'm just saying,
no.
like when they get into it, I'm like, God, we were supposed to be having fun. And
They're like, I am having fun in love of Jesus.
well, it's true. And love Jesus. It's fine. Like, me too. I love Jesus. Okay, D&D. Somebody can talk about D&D for hours.
I love the idea of D&D.
I think a lot of women love the idea of D&D. Do they love actually playing it? No.
Well, I've never been invited. I've never been invited to a D&D game. People have invited me several times, and then they never actually. Don't
It's
say and be like women don't.
You ever play D&D,
I
Shafe?
want to play
No,
D&D.
I don't know how I never got into it.
Well, we never ran with D&D too much, but I've definitely played. And the people that play, sometimes you need to know what the hell you're doing. I played with some elites, and they're like, AJ, have you played D&D before? Like, we all walk into a room, and there's a group of 5 of us, and there's 2 guys in the room. What does AJ do? I run out of the room, and I run into the next room to try to find more guys and more treasure before they're even done. So, I'm like, because I know they're going to take the treasure, so I'm, already, gaming them. And, no, you can't do that. You got to stay with us. I'm like, no, but... a good dungeon master let me do what I want.
And that's actually the problem with me trying to get into a D&D game is these guilds are already set up. They don't want to invite new members in. If you quit the campaign, then we'd have to completely sacrifice the campaign.
The stories sometimes of the campaign are better than the actual campaign themselves, right? That you can tell a story about what you did, and that becomes way cooler than what you actually did.
Well, I love the idea of bonding through storytelling and how that can be done through D&D.
Well, that's what this whole segment is about, storytelling and what do you like to talk about?
Yeah.
What could you talk about forever, Mike? Offhand.
The movie Tremors.
The first one?
Oh, yeah.
So Kendra watched Tremors 6 for her second movie review.
Was that the new Netflix one?
It was. It was the one that came out last year.
It was.
How was it?
Have you not? What'd you give it?
I gave it.
She laughed a lot.
I did. I gave it a high score. I want to say it was 3 out of 5. Maybe it was 4 out of 5.
Is Michael Gross in it still?
The guy that plays Bert, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he knows. I think is that episode up? We have 2 lost episodes. Episode 2 and 3 are lost, but
that you can listen to the Tremors review. Yes.
I'm gonna go back instantly when we get done.
Check that one out. And maybe we gotta put the first Tremors in there now. It's a good suggestion.
Oh no, Tremors! The first one is too high budget. It's too good. It's too good.
It's too good.
Critters was pretty high budget.
It was.
Somebody wrote that they could talk for cats for hours. Talk about
cats. Oh man!
If you want to talk to me, I think performing and doing a performance and how to do it and how to improve somebody's performance. I love building shows and doing stuff like that. That's what I like. Personally, I mean. Whether it takes a lot of time to like today, we were having trouble just getting the audio set up and how I was gonna put the Skype call in. So you go through all that for an hour of performance. Coffee stains. The guy says he has a PhD on coffee stains. He says it gets a weird look at job interviews.
I have a PhD on this subject.
He has a PhD on this subject.
What do you do with a PhD in coffee stains?
Yeah. Bunch of modeling and about how the stain is actually forming and the results, I don't know, of evaporation. Evolution of science as it relates to the meaning of life. Somebody put this one in. This is the one I hate, right? Things that you can talk about for hours, right?
Well, and this also quickly evolves into a religious conversation, typically.
Yep.
They're so intertwined.
Did you ever have a moment in your life where you're really into professional wrestling?
Is that a question for me?
It's a question for everyone.
For the world?
Because the answer is yes. And the answer is twice in my life. Early on in my life with the Junkyard Dog and Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Superfly Snuka before I even knew how to really take care of myself. And then later on in life, I think around high school, Stone Cold Steve Austin came out. And junior high and high school and kind of reinvented high school. But wrestling is something that people get into, and a lot of people could talk about it for hours. Still, the old Vince McMahon clips are still memeable on when you watch those. They're on YouTube and everywhere. The old, when we were going through and watching it, the Vince McMahon clips are priceless. Yeah, you ever see those, Shafe?
Oh yeah. And real quick side note, AJ, you'll love this. You remember the Steiner brothers, right? Who went to Michigan?
Yeah.
My brother-in-law's best friend, Hudson, is Rick Steiner's son. So I went over to Rick's house when we moved here, and he told me WWF stories for hours. It was the coolest thing ever. So yeah, I
Behind
could
the
talk
scenes
about wrestling.
stories?
Oh yeah, WCW battles with Vince McMahon, all the behind the scenes stuff. It was
What
great.
was your biggest surprise about those stories? I mean, I want to get into it, but
I mean, the biggest surprise was just how inflexible like both WCW and WWE were, because they were at such batting heads. So it's
they were
interesting to
not
hear.
flexible with each other.
Well, because it was a business. And
Yeah,
they
there's
weren't. They weren't
PepsiCo
doing,
and Coca-Cola. Right.
exactly same thing. It was pretty interesting.
Wow. So he talked about how they're always battling each other.
Yeah, it was the network. It was like the WWF and WCW wars. It was all about the networks.
There was some crossover wrestlers too. See, we could talk about this for hours.
Exactly,
But there was some
see?
like Sting crossed over, and a couple of them. Man, and they, behind the scenes, they're all friends. So like your friend going
Right.
to work for another company, or maybe they're not friends, but they
Yep.
definitely have to work together
Same thing.
and playing characters. Person says they could talk about their existential crisis for a long time.
The one that I see that people talk about all the time consistently is how bad my school system is. I've talked to people who have children in school systems. I've talked to teachers who are complaining internally
Everybody
about the
wants
school
to
system.
complain about their school system.
School systems are a tough cookie, man. Like, yeah, everybody, like, education is such an important part of your kid's life, and your kids spend so much time there. It's, it takes up a lot of a parent's brain space.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, Mike, are you a parent? Do you?
I'm not a parent, but I work with a lot of teachers, and I hear about a lot of school systems.
Do
Yeah.
you really? And what's the general consensus?
It's across the board. Some are incredibly happy. There's a lot of turnover, a lot of people looking for that best school system, so they keep moving. I think it's easier for teachers to change jobs than kids to change schools.
Evidently, it's easier. Michigan is one of the highest paying teachers states. Like we pay the teachers one of the most here in Michigan.
It's
good that we
pretty
take care
good,
of
yeah.
them, because other states it's like they're really low paying.
Yeah, a lot of other states, teachers have to get a second job in order to like survive. And
This is what I heard anyway. I'm not a teacher. I think my sister is a teacher. But all right. So let's do a quick break, and then we'll come in with our last topics here. Okay. So this is a cat. You have a fur baby, dude? You had a cat?
Do. Oh yeah.
What's your cat's name?
I have. You ready for this? 3 cats.
Oh my God. Okay. So are any of them like this? I'm working on this cat here. His name is Theodore Roosevelt. I've been working for about, I don't know, 6-8 months on him, trying to get him to love me by spoiling him with food and whatever. He doesn't like to cuddle. I can't pet him, but he'll roll on his back and like look up at me, and I can't touch him though. Like, it's not an invite to touch. It's just an invite to look, and it's so tough because he's so cute. Anyway, do you have any cats like that are just kind of like doing their own thing?
No, my cats all like I had to shoo 2 of them away because I work at the desk all the time. They wanted to like be on the podcast. No, they're very cuddly, all of them.
That's nice. Okay, names of cats.
There's Bella. There is Chauncey, who's named after Chauncey Billups, who played for the Pistons.
Yeah.
And Max.
Yes. Okay. All right. What's the oldest one?
Bella.
Bella. Okay. All right.
Bella, Chauncey, and then Max is like the accidental child that we didn't plan on getting.
How did you get him?
We went in to buy pet treats one Saturday, and you know how on Saturdays they have all the adoptions is there, and
Yes.
my wife picked him up, and that was it. I'm like, all right, I guess we're
brought him
taking
home,
him
got
home.
another cat.
Yeah.
It's been tough. We've been tempted quite a few times to pick up another cat. You just want to help. You can help. Let's move on. I need help. Disneyland needs help. They close Space Mountain after a visitor jumps off mid-ride. This happening at Space Mountain. Now, a lot of families vacationing to Florida this time of year. A lot nicer of weather down there. Orlando's really, really great. My nephew just got back with my parents, so that was pretty cool. But this happened. It's got to be pretty hard to jump off some of these rides. I mean, they kind of pin you in, though. I mean, I've never wanted to jump off a ride, but I'm sure this guy was,
well, I thought they should have locking mechanisms. I always remember when they'd lock you into the thing, then they would like pull. Granted, that was at like Six Flags and Cedar Point because I couldn't afford to go to Disneyland, but they pull.
This guy was reportedly in his 20s, was on Space Mountain roller coaster. He climbed out of the ride and jumped down while it was moving. He maneuvered himself around the safety mechanism. And he has cognitive disabilities. So what does that mean? Cognitive, you don't really know what's going on?
It just means that, yeah, like either they don't want to say what specifically is wrong,
Did he get
or it's
claustrophobic?
enough.
Could that be a cognitive disability?
Well,
Get me out of this thing!
it's one of... I don't know. I think it sounds more like they're trying to imply that he misunderstood or was excited or something and didn't understand the safety of it. Maybe it could be claustrophobia and just a panic attack.
Maybe. You ever want to jump off a ride, Shafe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do heights very well. I don't like roller coasters.
You got any ride stories? Did you ever puke or anything?
Never puked. I always preferred the ones that spun in circles, other than like the dips and the stomach sensation.
You don't wait. You prefer the circles.
I prefer circles over like going up really high and crashing
Dipping.
down really quickly.
See, I see the circles. I get me. Like I can't do the hurricane. Tilt-a-whirl's fine. But even that swing set, sometimes I'm like, man, I can't keep going in circles. I need to go fast and straight and up and down. Wait, that's so gay. But that's what I was thinking. Like those down and back roller coasters are like, it's just like moving fast, like in a car. But when you're going in circles, like I've vomited. I have a childhood experience of going on a very adult ride before I was ready with my brother, and it was nighttime too, so all I saw was like neon lights whizzing by. It was called the Hurricane, and it goes around and around and up and down.
Oh,
and and it hauls. It hauls. Didn't last. I wanted to get off that ride, but I didn't jump off because I would have died. But this guy jumped off Space Mountain.
And they do say he was uninjured, by the way, if you had any concern for this man. He apparently walked on his own to the first aid station within the park.
Yeah.
He was uninjured. They did take him to the hospital just to make sure that everything was all right, but he's not hurt at all.
Good. Because I was worried.
That is good.
I was really worried.
I was worried about
All
that.
right, you guys, we're going to play one game before we head out for today. Thank you for joining us. Kendra, tell the people where they can pick us up.
You can check us out on our website, shootthemessenger.net.
Yep, that's one.
We're also on iTunes, Spotify. You can watch the videos on YouTube, Shoot the Messenger Podcast. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/shootthemessenger. And then also live Saturdays at 2 p.m. You can catch us right here at truce.tv/truce
We might start at
now.
2. We might start at 2:05 because the sound's messed up. So
two-ish.
that might happen. Also, thank you to our guest, Mike Schaefer here. Mike, let's plug your podcast a little bit. It's called How to Sleep, available on, that's right?
How to Sleep, yep.
How to Sleep. It's available on iTunes. You're on episode like 20 right now?
Episode 20, yep.
Where do you see it going in the future? What's that? Where do you see it going in the future? How far are you going to take it?
I read something, you mentioned all those tips earlier. I read something like the first 50 episodes you're just trying to figure out what you're doing. So I'm just going to keep reading manuals. It's a hobby right now. I enjoy it. So I'm learning, and that's where it's going right now.
What makes the best manuals? Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
The best manuals they're all great and they're all unique. The best ones are the ones that I really get excited about, though, because I think that comes through in the recording. What I found is the older, the better. I'm really fascinated by how they wrote manuals back in the 1800s, for instance.
Yeah. Oh, so do you find the older manuals being a little bit cooler than the modern day manuals?
That's what I found. Although I will say Harry's Razors, also not a sponsor, but I found one of their manuals, and it was just really pictures, and it was clever and funny. So I think it's comedy and wit that can be bring itself into manuals. It's pretty
that's
cool
an idea, man. You might want to reach out to some of these companies and being like, after 50,
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I'm reading your manuals here.
That's part of the plan. I may just do episodes on certain companies if they pay me.
Yeah, just reach out. They'll sign up for that. Man, that is amazing. All right, so here's the deal. Get your favorite movie in mind. Okay? Not one that I know. So I have a favorite movie that I've always talked about.
Okay.
Favorite movie. I'm gonna choose a different, but you have to describe it with 3 words, and we have to guess the movie. Okay? All right. I'm gonna give mine. I'll start first since I'm posing the question. Okay. Adventure, pirate ship.
Oh, that's 3 words.
Shit.
Is that
Minus adventure, pirate ship, kids.
The Goonies.
Nailed it.
Hook.
No, Goonies. She got it. She said Goonies.
Oh.
She doesn't come through on your side, does she? Okay. All right. Who's ready to go?
Oh, I'm not.
Come on. Step it up. This is improv class. Kendra's going.
Okay.
Twinkies.
She says Twinkies. Can you hear her?
Yep.
Zombies.
Zombieland.
Yeah.
Oh, that was pretty easy.
Yeah,
he
it
got
was.
it in 2.
Yeah.
You didn't even need 3. He got it in 2. All right, Shafe, your turn.
Zombieland 2 coming out soon, I hear.
Oh, it should be pretty good. I really like the rules, like how they're setting that up.
They did a great
That's
job.
Nice. That's nice. Kendra
Okay.
loves zombies. Okay.
Here we go.
All right.
Let's see what I got here.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Prince. Wayne. Joker.
Ooh, Batman,
Yep.
the original.
The original.
The original Batman. Joker was pretty big. That's a pretty big hint, but you had to.
Yeah.
You're like, man.
I had to. I was getting pretty vague. I almost went with Moonlight.
You're like, I
and
better
that-
make it specific. The Batcopter. All right, we're gonna end it there. Episode 14 coming out next week. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias. Mike Schaefer, thank you for joining us on the show. Kendra, thank you over there.
Thank you.
All right, and what's our saying that we end it with? That's it. That's the end of the show, folks. That's the end. Yay! Have a good one. All right, Shafe, thanks so much. We'll
Thanks,
see you
guys.
next week. All right, let's do it again. God damn it. I do these things and I have it, and then 3.
It's a work in progress, people.
Yeah, whatever.
Uh,
I ruined it.
No.
I had it, Kendra. I had it.
No, it's okay. It's all right. We're just we're letting them know how much we don't want to leave them by just sticking around a little bit longer.
I would agree. But now
It is almost time to depart.
it's time to
say
end the
our
show. man.
farewells, our well wishes.
Dude, this is the deal. Like, I keep adding scenes, and like, so I got Elon Musk up right now, and then like, so every week there's like a new scene added. So like, eventually it's gonna get to where like, I can't see anything. Can't see anything. But anyway, all right. That's it for the show. Make sure you follow us. We're just gonna end there. All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.